As dusk settles over a misty mountain hermitage, you stand on a rocky path, surrounded by towering pines, and the faint hum of evening stillness. The air is crisp, scented with damp earth and cedar, as clouds weave through jagged peaks. You're here to discover silence, not as absence, but as a gateway to your inner self. Guided by Soma, a Zen hermit whose quiet presence radiates wisdom. This journey is about resting in the power of silence, where the noise of the world fades, and your true self speaks. Let your breath slow. Let your mind ease. Allow the mountain to hold you. Welcome to this moment, where silence awakens the heart. Don't identify, you are not your emotions. What is identification? It's when we believe we are our emotions. Instead of saying, I'm feeling anxious, we say, I am anxious. Or I am sad, I am angry. It seems like a small change in words, but the difference is profound. Saying I am anxious ties the feeling to our core identity, making it feel solid, personal, and inescapable. Anxiety then controls our actions, thoughts, and self-perception. Why do we identify? Our brains are wired to create stories to make sense of ourselves and the world. When a strong emotion like anxiety arises, we build a narrative. I'm an anxious person, I was born this way. My life is full of worries. These stories reinforce the belief that the emotion is permanent, inseparable from us. This identification stops us from seeing it objectively, robs us of choice in how we respond, and lets the emotion control us completely. Imagine a big wave in the ocean. Standing on the shore, you see its power, but you're safe, unaffected. But if you believe you are the wave, you're swept away, overwhelmed, helpless. Anxiety works the same way. When you identify with it, you jump into the wave, caught in its churn with no escape. Identification is a psychological trap, locking us in an endless anxiety spiral. The power of non-identification, creating distance. Non-identification is realizing you are not your emotions. Emotions are temporary phenomena in your mind and body, like guests visiting for a while, not permanent residents of your house. You change your inner language. This simple, powerful tool can be practiced immediately. Instead of I'm anxious, say, there's a feeling of anxiety in me. Or my mind is having anxious thoughts. This small shift creates a significant cognitive distance. I am anxious implies anxiety is your essence. I'm feeling anxious shows it's a temporary state you're experiencing. Similarly, I'm angry, I'm feeling anger. I'm depressed, I'm experiencing sadness. I'm an anxious person, I'm someone experiencing anxiety in some situations. Imagine sitting calmly by a river. Your thoughts and emotions are objects floating on the water. Leaves, branches, or larger debris. You don't need to jump in and grab each one. Just sit on the bank, watching them drift by. You're the observer, not the objects. The river flows, you stay calm on the shore. This mindfulness metaphor helps maintain distance. Anxiety is like an uninvited guest knocking at your door. You acknowledge its presence, noticing and observing. You don't need to invite it in or chase it away harshly. You simply notice it standing there or passing by. You are not the guest, and the guest isn't the homeowner. It comes, then it goes. The Buddha's wisdom of non-self, anatta, in a non-religious context. The concept of non-self, anatta, in Buddhism may sound abstract, but it simply means there's no fixed, unchanging, eternal self. Everything changes: thoughts, emotions, sensations, even our bodies. Constantly arising and passing away. They're not a permanent self we can cling to. In the context of anxiety, this means, your anxiety is not you. It's just a flow of energy, a temporary set of sensations and thoughts, arising in your mind and body. Recognizing this lets you release the grip on thoughts like, "This is me," or "I'm just like this." It's not denying your existence, but understanding your deeper essence isn't defined by fleeting emotions. Not denial, but realistic understanding. Non-identification isn't denying emotions. It's not saying "I'm not sad" when you feel sad. It's understanding, sadness is present in me, but it doesn't define me. This allows you to experience emotions without being overwhelmed or controlled. It's a way to heal anxiety from within, a drug-free anxiety relief method. Breaking the cycle of suffering. When we identify, we create anxiety about anxiety. I'm anxious, and now I'm anxious about being anxious. This self-sustaining loop amplifies suffering. Non-identification breaks this cycle. Anxiety may still be there, but it no longer has the power to overwhelm. It's like a big cloud, you know it can't forever obscure your vast sky. Practicing non-identification in real life. Shift inner language. Instead of "I'm angry," say, "Anger is arising." Instead of "I'm anxious," say, "I'm experiencing anxiety." Repeat these gently when emotions arise. This is an effective way to control anxiety. Observe without labeling good or bad. When observing anxiety, don't judge it as good, bad, right, or wrong. Just observe. This prevents identification by not attaching personal value to the emotion. It's data, not a personal verdict. Breathe and create space. When caught in a thought or emotion, pause, take a few deep breaths. Breathing creates a small gap between you and the emotion. In that space, practice non-identification, seeing yourself as the observer. This is the simplest breathing exercise for anxiety relief. Mental noting. When anxiety arises, gently note in your mind. Anxiety, stress, thought, feeling, then let it pass. This identifies the emotion without getting caught in its content. A simple, effective mindfulness practice. By practicing non-identification, you learn to be the master of your mind, not a slave to fleeting emotions. You can't control whether anxiety arises, but you can choose how to engage with it. This is the path to true inner peace and freedom. A mindful approach to overcoming anxiety effectively for everyone. You sensed your own heartbeat, not just in your chest, but echoing quietly in your entire being. As if your body and the mountain were breathing together. It was a revelation. Silence was not barren. It was vibrantly alive. Soma's voice again rose, now a seamless part of the silence itself. The Buddha found enlightenment in silence. Not in words, not in debate, but in a space between them, where thoughts dissolve, where peace remains. And in that moment, you knew. Peace isn't something you chase. It's something you uncover. It is always here, beneath the noise, within the stillness. And so, your journey into silence was no longer about seeking, but about listening, about remembering the quiet place within that had always been waiting for you to return. As you sat by Soma, enveloped by the mountain's profound quiet, A new awareness began to stir within you. It was a subtle shift, yet significant. The overwhelming silence of the hermitage, once a mere absence of sound, now felt like a living presence. A vast canvas upon which the subtle rhythms of life played out. You had begun to listen, not just with your ears, but with an awakened sense of being. Soma, with his ancient, knowing gaze, seemed to sense the shift in your perception. He reached down and gently lifted a small, dark stone from the ground beside him. It was smooth, worn, and polished by the countless years it had spent in the stream bed. He held it up to the soft, flickering light of the lantern, its surface reflecting a tiny, distorted glow. "Your mind," he began, his voice a soft, resonant murmur that seemed to weave itself into the stillness, "is often like this stone." You watched the stone in his hand, feeling a sense of anticipation. "It carries the weight of countless thoughts," he continued, turning the stone slightly. "Plans for tomorrow, worries from yesterday, regrets about what has been, anxieties about what might be. They cling to it, layering themselves one upon another, sometimes rough and sharp, sometimes smooth and insidious. These thoughts, like incessant clamor, often drown out your inner voice, the quiet, clear wisdom that resides within your true self." As he spoke, you felt a deep resonance within your own experience. You thought of your own mind, a ceaseless torrent of restless thoughts, an endless, often exhausting chatter that constantly pulled you away from the present moment. It was a relentless stream of to-do lists, what ifs, should-haves, and criticisms. A cacophony that rarely allowed for true rest or clarity. You realized how rarely you experienced true mental quiet. How easily you became lost in the labyrinth of your own internal dialogue. It was a constant struggle to stay anchored, to remain present, when your mind was always rushing ahead or dragging you back. In Zen, Soma explained, his tone devoid of judgment, only compassion. We don't fight this noise. We don't wage war against our thoughts, trying to forcefully silence them or push them away. You instinctively appreciated this. You had tried to silence your mind before, only to find it resisted more fiercely. Like a wild bird trapped in a cage, flapping its wings desperately. Fighting only creates more resistance, more struggle, more noise. Instead, we learn a different way. We learn to simply observe it, to let it pass, and gently return to silence. This is where your true self lives. Beyond the mind's stories, beyond its judgments, beyond its endless cycle of craving and aversion. He paused again, letting the words hang in the still air, inviting you to absorb their profound simplicity. The idea of not fighting your thoughts felt revolutionary. A radical shift from the constant internal battle you had been waging. It hinted at a path of acceptance, a gentler approach to your own inner landscape. Then, as if sensing the questions forming in your mind, Soma began to share a Zen story, a timeless tale that transcended words, and spoke directly to the heart of the matter. There was once a young monk, he began, his voice becoming a soft, narrative current, who had spent many years in diligent practice. Yet he still struggled with the incessant clamor of his own mind. His thoughts were like a flock of unruly sparrows, darting and chirping, never allowing him true peace. One day, overwhelmed by his restless mind. The young monk approached his venerable master. "Master," he asked, his voice filled with a desperate longing, "how do I find wisdom? How do I quiet this endless noise within me, so I can truly hear the Dharma?" The master, a man of deep understanding and few words, looked at the young monk with compassionate eyes. He didn't offer a direct answer. No complex sutra or elaborate instruction. Instead, he simply led the monk to a towering cliff, where the wind continually swept through the pines and across the craggy rocks. Soma's narrative painted a vivid picture. The young monk, filled with earnest expectation, standing on the precipice. The master then said, "Listen to the wind." You could imagine the young monk straining, focusing all his efforts on hearing the wind. In his eagerness, he would have been listening for a message, a secret teaching, a profound pronouncement carried on the breeze. The monk strained. He listened with all his might, but all he heard was the dull roar of his own frantic thoughts. His mind was so full of expectation, so busy trying to find something, that it could not truly hear anything. The wind was there, but his internal noise was louder. Soma paused, allowing the weight of the monk's struggle to settle. It was a struggle you recognized intimately. How often had you tried to focus, only to be overwhelmed by your own mental chatter? Days passed, Soma continued, his voice now imbued with a sense of patience. In the slow unfolding of time, the young monk remained at the cliff, faithfully listening. But the wind's voice remained elusive, masked by the ceaseless activity of his mind. He grew frustrated, tired, but he persisted. And slowly, imperceptibly, as he continued his patient, non-striving listening, his mind began to quiet. The frantic flapping of the sparrows gradually lessened. The internal clamor softened. And then, Soma's voice softened further, almost becoming the wind itself. One morning, as the sun rose, the monk was simply sitting, no longer straining, no longer trying to hear. He was simply present. And in that moment of surrender, the wind's voice finally emerged. It wasn't a word, or a phrase, or a secret teaching. It was a profound presence. The rustling of the leaves, the cool breath against his skin, the vastness of the space, the gentle, constant whisper. That was the very essence of the wind itself. He heard it, not with his ears alone, but with his entire being, with the spaciousness of his quieted mind. Soma's eyes, bright with shared understanding, met yours. "That is wisdom," the master said to the monk, seeing the profound realization dawn in his eyes. Not in grasping, not in forcing, not in seeking for answers outside yourself, but in letting go of the struggle, of the striving, of the need to control. It is found in the stillness, in the open space, where true presence resides. The story lingered in the air, its simple profundity echoing in the depths of your being. The mountain's stillness seemed to deepen around you, becoming even more vast and encompassing, as if absorbing the very essence of the tale. You felt a quiet reverence for the young monk's journey, and for the master's wise guidance. It was a powerful reminder that true seeing, true hearing, often requires a profound inner quiet, a willingness to release the constant striving. Soma, sensing the receptivity in your heart, now offered a direct, gentle practice, an invitation to experience this truth for yourself. "Let us try," he suggested, his voice warm and encouraging. "For a few moments, let's bring this practice of listening to the wind, not to the external wind, but to the inner landscape of your mind. Take a deep breath in," he guided, his voice steady, noticing the air's coolness as it fills your lungs. Feel its texture, its subtle energy. Allow it to bring a sense of calm into your being. And as you breathe out, gently, softly, allow one thought to drift away. Don't push it. Don't fight it. Just imagine it. Whatever thought arises, a worry, a plan, a memory, as a wisp of smoke, or a tiny cloud, see it dissolving effortlessly into the mist around us, dissipating into the vastness of the night sky. You followed his gentle instructions, closing your eyes once more. You breathed in, feeling the refreshing coolness of the mountain air filling your lungs, bringing a sense of groundedness. Then, as you exhaled slowly, deliberately, you mentally pictured a thought, perhaps a nagging worry from earlier in the day, or a fleeting concern about tomorrow. You imagined it as a small, ephemeral cloud, detaching from your mind, and gently, effortlessly drifting away, dissolving into the endless, silent mist of the valley below. Remarkably, as you repeated this simple practice, you felt the incessant chatter of your mind begin to soften, to recede. Much like the young monk at the cliff, the internal noise, though not entirely gone, became less insistent, less demanding. A spaciousness began to grow within your awareness, a quiet expanse where the echoes of thoughts could gently fade. The silence around you no longer felt external. It seemed to expand from within, becoming a tangible part of your own being. In this gentle surrender, you began to sense the profound truth of Soma's words, that beyond the mind's endless stories, beyond the clamor of thoughts, lay a vast, still ocean of pure presence, your true self, waiting patiently to be heard. This was the nascent awakening, the first whisper of your own inner wisdom, emerging from the depths of silence. The mountain air grew cooler as you continued your journey with Soma. The deep stillness of the hermitage had already begun its work, softening the edges of your usual mental clamor. You had tasted the peace that arises from observing thoughts, letting them drift like mist, rather than fighting their insistent demands. Now, Soma rose with a graceful ease that spoke of decades spent in profound calm. He beckoned you to follow, and you rose, feeling a new lightness in your step, a subtle shift in your internal landscape. He led you a short distance from the hut, deeper into the serene heart of the hermitage. The path, barely discernible in the deepening twilight, meandered alongside a soft, trickling stream. Its gentle murmur was a constant, soothing companion, a quiet song woven into the vast silence of the mountain. Soon, the path opened to a small, secluded pool. Its surface, undisturbed by even the faintest ripple, lay perfectly still, a flawless obsidian mirror reflecting the twilight sky above. Already, The first faint stars were beginning to prick the darkening canvas, their distant light captured and held within the water's depths. "Look," Soma said, his voice a quiet invitation, barely above a whisper, yet resonating with profound meaning. He gestured towards the shimmering surface of the pool, encouraging you to gaze into the water. You knelt by the edge, leaning forward slightly. And there it was. Your own reflection stared back. It was framed by the nascent stars. A silent, unblinking image of yourself, held within the tranquil embrace of the mountain's night. For a moment, you simply looked, observing your own face, unmasked by the usual distractions. "Silence is like this pool," Soma explained, his words flowing as smoothly and clearly as the trickling stream beside you. "It reflects your true self, your authentic being, undistorted by the world's noise, unbiased by your mind's endless chatter. Just as this water holds the vastness of the sky and the clarity of the stars without judgment, so too does deep silence allow your deepest essence to be revealed." He paused, allowing you to absorb the metaphor. The image of the pool as a mirror to the soul was powerful. You considered how often your inner world felt turbulent, muddy, clouded by emotions, worries, and constant external input. Here, the water was pristine, offering an unadulterated view. The Buddha taught that our true essence, our fundamental nature, is inherently clear and pure, like this water, Soma continued, his voice a steady, comforting presence. "It is untainted by the passing phenomena of life. However, our thoughts, our emotions, our desires, they are like pebbles dropped into this clear pool. They create ripples across its surface. These ripples distort the reflection, making it difficult to see what is truly there. They obscure the clear view of our true nature." He gestured subtly to the surface of the pool. Even a tiny insect landing, or a breath of wind, could cause a momentary tremor, disrupting the perfect reflection. But in silence, he emphasized, his voice holding the weight of timeless wisdom, "When the pebbles stop dropping, and the wind stills, the ripples fade, and you see clearly. The water becomes perfectly still once more, and the reflection of the sky, of the stars, of your true self, is revealed without distortion. This clarity is your natural state." A profound longing stirred within you, to see yourself so clearly, so purely, without the filtering lens of judgment, or the constant interference of thought. That felt like the ultimate freedom. Yet, the question that had often plagued you in your daily life resurfaced, almost instinctively. You voiced it, your whisper breaking the profound stillness. Yet it felt welcome here. "How do I find this silence when life is so loud?" you asked. A hint of your usual world's frantic energy entering your voice. When voices clamor, when tasks demand attention, when fears whisper in the darkest corners of my mind, it feels impossible to escape the noise. Soma's eyes twinkled, and a gentle smile touched his lips, illuminated softly by the lantern's glow. His composure was unshaken. "You ask an excellent question. One that many seekers ask," he replied, his voice still soft, yet carrying an unwavering conviction. "And the answer is simpler than you might imagine. You don't need a mountain to find silence. You don't need to escape the world, or flee from its demands, or build a hermitage around yourself. He paused, allowing his words to sink in, dismantling a common misconception about inner peace. Silence is within you, always. It is your inherent nature, your deepest sanctuary, waiting patiently beneath the layers of noise. It's not something you go out to find. It's something you return to, something you uncover. He then offered a practical, profoundly simple method. A bridge back to that inner stillness. When noise surrounds you, be it the clamor of voices, the pressure of tasks, or the persistent whisper of fears, pause. Just for a moment. This pause is not an act of doing, but an act of stopping. And in that stopping, return to your breath. Your breath is your most reliable anchor, your constant companion. It's the bridge to your inner self. Always present, always available. He raised his hand and slowly, deliberately, traced a perfect circle in the air with his finger. An ancient Zen gesture that symbolized wholeness and endlessness. In Zen, we have a simple practice for this, he explained. We call it just sitting, shikantaza. It sounds deceptively simple, yet it holds profound depth. It means to simply sit, without agenda, without striving, without trying to achieve anything. You don't seek silence when you just sit, Soma clarified, his gaze steady and clear as the moonlit pool. You don't chase it. You don't force it. Instead, you simply become it. You surrender to the present moment, allowing whatever arises to simply be, without judgment, without attachment. In that pure, unadorned presence, you realize that you are not separate from silence. You are silence. He then pointed back to the tranquil pool, its surface still flawlessly reflecting the night sky, holding the distant stars in its depths without effort. Notice how this pool holds the sky without grasping, he asked, his voice a soft invitation to contemplate. It doesn't try to pull the stars closer, or resist the reflections of the passing clouds. It simply holds them, allows them to be, without becoming disturbed by their presence. Your mind can do the same, he concluded, his words carrying a gentle yet powerful reassurance. It can hold life's noise, the thoughts, the emotions, the external demands, without being swept away by them. You can allow them to arise, to pass, to reflect on the surface of your awareness, while remaining connected to the deep, clear stillness that lies beneath. That deep stillness is your true self. Always present, always available, always perfectly reflecting the clarity of being. The profound truth of his words resonated through you. It wasn't about escaping the world, but about finding an unshakable center within it. It was about discovering that the clear, still mirror of silence was not a distant mountain peak, but an ever-present dimension of your own being, waiting to be accessed through the simple, profound act of conscious presence in just sitting. You felt a shift, a hopeful glimmer of understanding. The path to stillness wasn't about achieving, but about allowing. The mountain night had fully descended, deepening the profound silence that now felt less like an external condition and more like an inner state. Having just glimpsed your mind as a turbulent pool settling into clarity, you felt a subtle pull towards a deeper, more direct experience. Soma, with his serene and grounded presence, gestured towards a flat, smooth stone positioned perfectly beside the tranquil pool. Its surface, cool to the touch, was polished by centuries of wind and rain. An ancient seat, inviting deep contemplation. "Let's rest in silence now," Soma said. His voice a soft, resonant hum that seamlessly blended with the subtle whispers of the night. His invitation was not a command, but a gentle encouragement to surrender, to simply be. The mountain's quiet seemed to deepen further, actively enveloping you, wrapping around your form like a warm, protective embrace. You settled onto the stone, feeling its solid, grounding presence beneath you, an anchor in the vastness that surrounded you. "Close your eyes," he guided, and you complied, allowing the last vestiges of visual distraction to fade. Darkness settled, not as an absence of light, but as an invitation to look inward, to explore the landscape of your own awareness. Now, feel your breath. Its gentle rise, its soft fall. Don't try to change it. Don't try to control it. Don't try to make it anything other than what it is. Just observe it. Notice the subtle movement in your belly, in your chest. Feel the cool air as you inhale, the warm air as you exhale. Let your breath be your anchor, a gentle, rhythmic reminder of the present moment. Always available, always here. You focused on your breath. Its steady, unwavering rhythm. It was a constant, familiar pulse. Always there. Always in the now. As you continued to breathe, a deeper sense of stillness began to unfurl within you, like a quiet blossom opening in the night. The edges of your awareness softened, and the subtle hum of your own existence became more pronounced. The sense of being a separate entity began to blur, merging slightly with the vast quietude of the mountain. "Now, notice the sounds around you," Soma continued, his words drawing your attention outwards, yet keeping you rooted in your internal experience. The faint, continuous murmur of the stream, as it trickles over stones. A constant lullaby. The soft, ethereal whisper of the wind, as it sifts through the towering pines above, like the mountain itself breathing. And beneath all these sounds, notice the profound silence, the vast, empty space that holds them all. Don't chase these sounds. Don't try to identify their source. Don't analyze them. And don't push them away. If they become too loud or distracting, just listen. Allow them to simply be, without judgment, without attachment. You settle deeper into the practice. The world outside your closed eyelids, fading into a tapestry, woven from sound and stillness. The gentle gurgle of the stream became a comforting backdrop. The sighing wind, once a mere atmospheric element, now felt like a living, breathing presence. And underlying it all, the profound, resonant silence, an oceanic depth that absorbed every fleeting sound, without ever being disturbed or diminished. Each sound, whether near or far, distinct or barely perceptible, became a mere thread in this intricate tapestry of now, effortlessly held within the boundless expanse of quiet. There was no need to react, no need to engage, only to listen, to witness, to simply allow. This wasn't a demanding task, but a gentle art, of receptive presence. After a long, comfortable pause, filled only with the symphony of stillness and subtle sounds, Soma's voice returned, gentle yet clear, guiding you to the next layer of the meditation. His voice was like a stone, skipping lightly across the surface of the vast pool of silence. "Now," he said, his voice carrying the wisdom of countless hours spent in quiet observation, "let thoughts come. You don't need to prevent them, or judge them, or try to empty your mind completely. That, too, is a form of striving. Simply allow them to arise naturally, like bubbles surfacing in the pool, or clouds drifting across the sky." You waited, open and receptive. Soon enough, thoughts began to surface, just as he described. A stray memory from childhood, vivid and fleeting. A nagging worry about a task you needed to complete tomorrow. A snippet of a half-forgotten song. A random image, perhaps from a dream. They appeared, unbidden, just as they always did. But this time, something was profoundly different. You weren't swept away by their current. You didn't immediately follow their narratives. You felt a subtle, yet powerful, detachment. A memory. A worry. A plan, Soma's voice continued, naming the very types of thoughts that were now appearing in your mind, as if he could see into your internal landscape. Don't follow their stories. Don't get caught in their narratives. Don't delve into their implications. Don't get entangled in their emotional hooks. Just observe them gently. Acknowledge their presence. And then, once you've acknowledged them, name them softly. He offered precise, gentle instructions for this naming practice. A simple yet potent tool for creating space between you and your thoughts. Thinking, he suggested, as a thought about the past arose, perhaps a replay of an old conversation. You silently, softly repeated it. Thinking. Feeling, he offered. If an emotion, like a subtle wave of sadness or impatience surfaced, acknowledging it without analysis. You mentally registered. Feeling. Planning. If your mind drifted to future tasks, like an upcoming appointment, you noted. Planning. Worries. If anxiety began to stir, a familiar tremor in your chest, you labeled it. Worrying. Simply acknowledge what is happening in your mind, Soma reiterated. And then, once named, gently return your attention to the silence between. You tried the practice with dedication. A thought about a conversation from earlier in the day surfaced, demanding your attention. Instead of replaying it, or judging your role in it, or imagining alternative scenarios, you simply acknowledged its presence. Thinking. And then, with a soft exhalation, you gently released your attention from it, allowing your awareness to settle back into the vast, open space of silence that held all sounds and all thoughts. Another thought, a fleeting concern about an upcoming event, arose, accompanied by a subtle tension in your shoulders. You labeled it. worrying. And then, you let it go. Your attention gently but firmly, returning to the profound stillness that permeated everything, both within and without. It wasn't about stopping thoughts entirely. That would be a futile exercise. It was about profoundly changing your relationship with them. It was about creating space around them, observing them as passing clouds, rather than identifying with their every nuance, their every dramatic storyline. Each time you named a thought and gently returned to the silence, you felt a subtle but significant shift. The grip of the mind's chatter loosened. The thoughts began to slow, their intensity softening. The space between them grew wider, deeper, more spacious, like the clear pool, expanding to encompass more of the vast sky. This is your inner self. Soma's whisper continued, resonating deeply within you, confirming the very experience you were having. His voice was a guidepost, leading you deeper into your own being. Vast and still, like this mountain, it is the unmoving observer, the pure awareness, that is aware of thoughts, but is not made of thoughts. It is the clarity of the pool itself, not the ripples on its surface. It is the empty space of the valley, not the fleeting hoot of the owl. This stillness, this awareness, this is your true home, your fundamental nature, always present, always waiting for you to return to it. You noticed another thought, perhaps a subtle anxiety about tomorrow, a sense of future expectation, a pull into what-ifs. You silently, softly labeled it tomorrow. And then, with a gentle, conscious release, you let it dissolve. Not with forceful effort, but with a quiet willingness to surrender, to trust the moment. As you did, the feeling of the pool's stillness, which you had observed earlier, seemed to expand, to fill your entire mind. It was no longer an external image, but an internal reality. Clear, unruffled, vast, boundless. The chaotic ripples that had once dominated your internal landscape had indeed begun to fade, replaced by a deep sense of tranquil spaciousness. This is the power of silence, Soma whispered again, his voice now almost indistinguishable from the gentle, pervasive sounds of the mountain night. It was as if the mountain itself was speaking through him. It isn't merely the absence of external sound. It is the profound presence of your own deepest being. It is the space where all things are held, and from which all truth, all insight, all true knowing can emerge. It awakens you to who you truly are, beyond the fleeting noise of your thoughts, beyond the identities you cling to, beyond the stories your mind incessantly weaves. It awakens you to your essence, pure awareness, infinite potential, boundless peace. In that moment, suspended between waking and deep peace, you felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey into silence was not a destination to be reached, but a continuous unveiling, a timeless process of discovery. Each breath, each named thought, each gentle return to the spaciousness of awareness was a step deeper into the limitless wellspring of your inner self. You were beginning to understand that the true power wasn't in finding silence, in some external place, but in allowing it to reveal you, your inherent clarity, your natural stillness, your boundless peace. The world might be loud, but your inner sanctuary remained, vast and eternal, waiting for you to simply listen. As the night deepened further, the stars truly blanketed the sky above the mountain hermitage, a dazzling display against the velvet blackness. Each tiny point of light seemed to echo the vast, expansive silence that now permeated everything. The air, crisp and cool, carried the scent of pine and damp earth, a comforting aroma that had become synonymous with peace. The meditation by the tranquil pool had left you profoundly settled, the mind's ripples smoothed, and your inner self revealed as a clear, unshakable presence. Soma, with his ancient wisdom shining in his eyes, stirred from his cross-legged posture with a graceful fluidity that belied his apparent age. He moved with a quiet dignity, approaching the edge of the still pool. His gaze lingered on the water's surface for a moment, as if exchanging a silent acknowledgement with the reflected cosmos. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, he reached down and retrieved a small, smooth pebble from the very edge of the water. It was perfectly rounded, polished by the ceaseless flow of the stream and the gentle tumbling of time. He turned, and without a word, offered it to you. "Keep this," he said, his voice soft, yet imbued with a profound significance that made the simple gesture feel sacred. You extended your hand, and the pebble settled into your palm. Its cool, smooth weight felt grounding, a tangible anchor in the intangible vastness of the night. It was more than just a stone. It felt like a tiny piece of the mountain, a condensed essence of the silence you had just experienced. Soma's words continued, weaving the wisdom of the hermitage into a practical guide for your return to the world. When the world's noise inevitably pulls you, when the clamor of daily life threatens to overwhelm the stillness you found, hold it. He gently tapped your palm, emphasizing the connection. Just hold it. And then, take 3 deep, conscious breaths. Let each inhale gather stillness, and each exhale release tension. As you breathe, gently, subtly, return to silence. He then offered a series of profound questions, simple yet powerful, designed to act as signposts on your path, guiding you back to your inner sanctuary. Even amidst chaos, ask yourself, what thought is loudest now? What worry? What plan? What memory is dominating my mind? He paused, allowing the weight of the question to settle. And then, ask, what happens if I let it go? Not fight it, not push it away, but simply release my grip on it. Even for a moment, allow it to dissolve into the space around it. Like mist into the air. His gaze was gentle, encouraging. Finally, ask, where's my inner self in this moment? Where's that quiet, clear awareness that observes all, but is affected by nothing? These questions are your path, your tools for remembering. You slip the pebble into your pocket, feeling its cool presence, a comforting reminder of this mountain dusk, this encounter, and the profound lessons learned. Its weight was a small, persistent anchor, promising to ground you when the tides of distraction inevitably rose. The time had come to descend. You rose, bowing deeply to Soma, who returned the gesture with a quiet grace. You stepped back down the path, now a familiar friend in the starlight. With each step, the humble wooden hut and the tranquil pool faded slowly into the deepening mist behind you, becoming a part of the mountain's silent, ancient embrace. Gradually, the sounds of the distant world began to filter back into your awareness. The faint hum of distant towns, the subtle murmur of human activity, the familiar rhythm of your daily existence, calling you back. Soon, your own world reappeared. The thought of your room, your bed, the routines and responsibilities that awaited you. Yet, something had fundamentally shifted. The mountain's profound silence no longer felt like a distant memory, but it lingered within you. A quiet, vast, and undeniable space. It wasn't a place you had to visit. It was a sanctuary you now carried. The clamor of the world seemed softer, less intrusive, held within this newly discovered inner quiet. Soma's voice, though no longer physically present, seemed to echo within your mind. A clear, resonant truth that transcended distance. The Buddha's wisdom lives in your stillness. His voice seemed to say, a reminder that spiritual understanding wasn't found in elaborate rituals or complex texts, but in the simple, profound act of quiet presence. You don't need to escape the world to find yourself. You don't need to retreat to a hermitage for enlightenment. Silence is your home, always waiting. It was a revelation. The peace you sought was not external, not something to be acquired, but an inherent quality of your own being, always accessible. Gratitude rose within you, a warm, expansive feeling for Soma, for this sacred hermitage, for the profound and transformative power of silence, to awaken your heart. As you finally settled into rest, the soft, familiar comfort of your own bed, you allowed your breath to deepen once more. Each inhale gathered the quiet essence of the mountain within you, and each exhale softened the lingering echoes of the world's noise, allowing them to dissipate effortlessly. You pictured the pool's stillness in your mind's eye, its surface perfectly calm, reflecting the vastness of the starry sky. This image, you realized, was a perfect reflection of your inner self, clear and unshaken, untroubled by the surface ripples of daily life. Sleep now, Soma's voice seemed to soothe, a gentle benediction echoing through the quiet chambers of your mind. Sleep, knowing that silence holds your truth, that it is the eternal ground of your being. Every pause, every moment of stillness, every conscious breath is a return to your essence, to the deepest part of who you are. Rest in this power, a power that is not of force, but of profound surrender, and awaken to yourself. Again and again, each new day a fresh opportunity to dwell in the silent wisdom that resides within. As sleep drew nearer, a profound sense of peace enveloped you. The pebble's cool presence in your pocket was a constant, tangible promise, anchoring you to the truth you had discovered. It whispered of a sanctuary that was always available, a wellspring of quiet strength that could never be depleted. Within you, you knew now, lay a silence, vast and eternal, forever yours, a timeless space of boundless peace, waiting patiently for your return. Moment by moment, breath by breath, the journey had ended, yet the true journey had just begun.